Hey guys, I hope you are doing well. Today I want to talk to you about a certain Israelite and Philistine who battled many years ago. Not David and Goliath, but before David and Goliath, we read about Samson and Delilah. Now, obviously, this was a different type of battle. Samson, loved Delilah. Delilah loved money. She pretty much sold Samson out. Really, Samson loved women. Samson had uncommon strength, but he had a common weakness. So he lusted after the flesh. And so we find that Samson loses his strength, and his strength was tied more so, not so much to his hair, but to his God. Okay, as long as the presence of the Lord was with Samson, the strength of the Lord was with Samson. But as when Samson would disobey God, that slowly got him to a place where God would eventually leave Samson, and that eventually was was a terrible day for Samson. Samson's worst day was when the presence of the Lord left him. See, he had a Nazirite vow. He wasn't to touch any dead things. We read about him touching the carcass, grabbing honey from the carcass of a lion. He wasn't to drink wine. It seems to be implied in the text during certain celebrations that he did drink wine. He also followed after women. He shouldn't have been, this thing with Delilah wasn't a one night stand is what I'm saying. It was a gradual thing. He had been sleeping with her for a little while now. And so, but this was a pattern of Samson's life. It wasn't just with her, right? Eventually he ended up, being taken down by her. But that's a reality. Ultimately, it led to finally, the cutting of his hair, which was part of his Nazirite vow, not to ever allow a blade to touch his hair. And so these things did not, again, happen overnight. But here's the main point. If we treat sin casually, it will affect us gradually, okay? See, when you treat sin casually, when you neglect it, okay, it's going to affect you, all right? Because what we neglect can take an effect on our life. What we tend to ignore can affect us. And that was the same thing that we see with Samson. Maybe he got carried away. Maybe he thought he could stand, and then we find that he fell. Maybe he trusted in his own strength instead of God who gave him the strength. And that's such an important reminder for us today. Let me read the text here for you so you can sort of get the context. This is Judges chapter 16, verses 19 to 22 out of the New Living. It says, Delilah lulled Samson to sleep with his head in her lap, and then she called in a man to shave off the 7 locks of his hair. In this way she began to bring him down, and his strength left him. Verse 20, then she cried out, Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you. When he woke up, he thought, I will do as before and shake myself free. But he did not realize the Lord had left him. And with the Lord leaving him, so his strength also left him as well. It says here in verse 21, so the Philistines captured him and gouged out his eyes. They took him to Gaza, where he was bound with bronze chains and forced to grind in the prison. But before long, his hair began to grow back. You see, sin takes us captive. Sin blinds us, right? Sin enslaves us. If we play with sin, it's gonna pull us eventually, right? There's a saying, if you give the devil a finger, he's gonna take the whole hand, right? You can't. He's gonna pull you. He wants all of you. He's come to steal, kill, and to destroy. So remember that. Look at this man with so much potential. Look at this person who had the presence of the Lord on his side, who had, he was a judge. He was a deliverer for God's people. God used him greatly, but he failed to obey the Lord, and it happened gradually, where eventually, by the cutting of his hair, the presence of the Lord left them, and the strength of the Lord left them with the presence of the Lord. Sin takes us down gradually when we treat it casually. So don't allow that to happen to you. Don't allow sin to eventually gouge out your own eyes, to cause you to be blind, desensitized to the things of God, to the truth. Don't go back to bondage and to slavery. The bondage and slavery that the Lord pulled us out of when He saved us. That's what sin does to us. It mocks us. It brings us, it promises much, but it takes our dignity away. It destroys us. It blinds us. It enslaves us. I cannot stress that enough. But see, I want to close with this. This last verse here, verse 22, gives us hope. It says, but before long, his hair began to grow back. That's sort of an indicator there that that Samson, as his hair is growing back, it's implying his strength is coming back. And there we see God's grace and God's mercy upon his life. But see, his hair didn't just come back and he got his strength back. His hair could have grown back, and that doesn't mean his strength was going to come back. We do know, if we keep reading on here, that he prays to the Lord. He gets to a place of humility, a place where he's broken, a place where he calls out to God and he tells, Lord, please give me one more chance. Give me my strength back just this one more time. Allow me to use it one more time. And so the Lord does that. The Lord gives grace to the humble. And so Samson gets his strength back one more time. He puts his hands on those pillars and he takes them down. And even though he gives up his life, even though he also dies that day, he took down more Philistines with him than ever before in his life. And the Lord was able to work that out. What was meant for evil against him, the Lord eventually worked it out for his glory, and to teach us, his people, a lesson today as well, what not to do. But if we mess up, to know that we can always cry out to God, and he hears us, and he forgives us, and he can re-strengthen us. God bless you.